recovering in a sense that the the energetic shift that happens, it needs some time to readjust, and everyone is going through that. And I'm spending my time in Kerala right now, trying to give this body some attention. And as I do this, I started to think, why not talk about self-care? And I also had to question myself, is what I'm doing true self-care? Because some of you may know that I have a habit of always asking myself questions and trying to dig deep into myself as to why do I do what I do, and how is it connected to my purpose in life? So, so I thought, why not talk about self-care, and from a whole different lens. And this is the lens that is given to us by one of the 6 sages of Vrindavan. Vrindavan has many sages, but there's predominantly the 6 sages of Vrindavan. They are very instrumental in giving us Vrindavan, helping us find those energy vortexes, helping us create that mood of love in Vrindavan, and helping us to uh, give us a pathway to enter into that divine love within our hearts. So this great sage, Sanatan Goswami, is one of the sages. In one of the texts called Padyavali, it's a very beautiful yoga text. Thank you, Mother, for joining us. That's to Ava's, Laura's mom.
Hey, I'm going to speak behalf of her. She could just wave, and I'm gonna translate if you need her to tell something.
Okay. Tell her we offer her our love and greetings. That's it. So, self-care. What is self-care? As defined by this great sage in this yoga text called Padyavali. The common idea that we have about self-care is that it has something to do with taking care of the body primarily, and maybe the mind, which means when you ask someone self-care, they will often say, I take time to get some pedicure done, manicure done, get a massage, and maybe go surf or go watch a movie or go to the park. What other ways do you practice self-care? Anybody wants to just take shots? Common ideas of what is self-care. Massage is a big one. Go to a sauna. They have different ways that people define what is self-care. But Rupa Goswami, just eat and sleep. That's a good one, Yes, many people have difficulty eating well and sleeping well. So that's very good. So he gives 7 points, and then I have categorized those 7 points into 3, so it's easier to remember. Okay. The first step that he gives in self-care is spiritual connection. And the second step he gives is detachment and balanced living. And third, service and eternal perspective. So these are basically whoever is monitoring.
Oh, it's all right, buddy. I got him. Oh, fucking got him, man. All right, man.
I think that's Denny. Denny, can you go on mute? All right, cool.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Robin. So self-care is divided into these three. So now let's understand, why is Rupa Goswami, this great saint, talking about self-care in terms of spiritual connection? The reason he emphasizes the spiritual connection, sorry, I can't see you without my glasses. The reason he emphasizes the spiritual connection is that anything that is not related not to the self, which means the ego, then whatever is catered to that is going to have another layer of care. That means you'll care for something and you'll have to care for that care. And so it compounds this care and it filters into feeding into that ego. For example, why so much emphasis on this, right? The spiritual connection. Because the ego has so many layers. It explains that the number of layers that the ego has is uncountable. That's pretty wild when you think about it. For example, when we look at ourselves, we have multiple layers of ourselves. The experiences that we have, the betrayals, the traumas, they're all feeding and connecting with the ego. So everything that you accumulate, everything that we see, everything that we taste, hear, touch, it feeds and compounds with the ego. And so, therefore, Rupa Goswami is saying that the main focus has to be spiritual connection. That means you have to try and see how you can get past all these layers, beyond your traumas, beyond your dramas, beyond he said, she said, beyond, my family history, how like beyond anything you could possibly think of. There is something beyond that. And that is the self. And so once we get beyond all of the things that are an accumulation of life that we have inherited in the material bodies of many in number, then those layers is what we have to penetrate. And that's why he's saying that the spiritual connection, the connection to the spirit, very important. He's not talking about the rituals. He's talking about the connection to the spirit, that we need to have spiritual connections to ourselves. And that spiritual connection will then reveal deeper connections with other spiritual souls. So it's very critical that we are deeply connected to ourselves, and that is done through sadhana, and with others through our sangha, association. And when this sangha, the sadhana and the sangha get together, what happens? That happens a nurturing of this divine connection that we need to have with ourselves and the divine. So if you want to have a deep connection with the divine, then the steps are given by Rupa Goswami as the connection begins with connections with the self, your personal self, beyond the ego. And then that connection, connecting with other beautiful souls, is called swajati in Sanskrit, means like-minded souls who are on a similar pursuit. And then when that happens, then the heart is automatically nourished and nurtured. And this is the first level of self-care. because the real self is actually being cared for, because you are paying all your attention and focus on what truly matters. So that is step one, right? And then the step two, Rupa Goswami explains the practice of detachment. Because this requires an active initiative. If you want to, self-care means it's something tangible, something practical. So detachment generally means vairagya. And the way to practice detachment is to cultivate your inner attachment to the divine. And detachment also means you start to minimize your entanglement in this material world. Because more and more things and occupations and designations that we acquire in this world, it is attaching to you, and that means it's attaching to the ego. So Rupa Goswami is saying you have to detach it from the ego and you have to attach it to the heart. And through, he explains, overindulgence in temporary things of the world. He was very very clear in overindulgence. Overindulgence or atyahara, prayashascha, which means you over-endeavor for things and you overindulge in things. Things that are related and in connection to the material world. So these are ways that we can practice detachment. By minimizing our attachment and engagement and over-endeavoring for material gains in life, and overindulgence in temporary things, because everything in this world, has an expiry date. So what happens, the more you indulge in it, more things in your life will expire on you. And then you just want to keep indulged. The more you do it, the more you want to do it. The material world by nature, by design, is addictive. We have to keep in mind. Everything in the material world by design is addictive. Because sometimes we may even become addicted to suffering and pain. So that can be an overindulgence even in that. Poor me, poor this, and we can go to various different lengths in this field of attachment and overindulgence. So that's why Rupa Goswami is explaining importance of detachment. And the third point that he makes is service and eternal perspective. So important thing that we have to keep in mind about service, we think that we should just serve others to make others happy. Yes, that is service. That is great service. That is level one of service. But there's another level of service that he is explaining about. When you serve others, because that person that you're serving is part and parcel of God. Because it pleases God when I am kind and loving and nurturing to Jules, to Linda, to Ina, to Radha, to everybody in the world. It's not just pleases Linda, it actually pleases God. So there has to be an upgrade of this consciousness of service, not just service to make someone else happy. Of course, that is great. And we must serve others because by human beings, by nature, we are servants. We're meant to serve others. And if you think that you're not, you'll end up serving a mind, which is not you. You're still serving someone else. So somehow or other, as long as we're in this material world, we are going to serve someone else. So Sanatana Goswami is saying, yes, you should serve someone else, but serve them. Why? Because it pleases God. Not just because it pleases them. So this is why Rupa Goswami explains that when we cultivate and practice these 3 steps of self-care, then you will actually be caring for the true self. So I want to keep it real short. This was my meditation for today, and I was just thinking how it'll be nice to have a little dialogue. Since we have, we have a few minutes. Anybody would like to share, add anything, or subtract anything from this? Any reflections on it? Yes, Nilde.
When you say connect with the divine, it's not our bodies necessarily, it's not our minds. What is connecting with the divine? Who is that within me?
What is not connected to the divine is my question to you, Nilde. What is not connected to the divine? When you breathe, where is the life coming from? How is that air keeping you alive? So everything in our lives, you will see, we are deeply connected to the divine. And this consciousness of self-care, which is really, really deep about the self, is God within the heart. It's very clear. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, also in the Shvatashvatar Upanishad, he explains Samana Vrikshe Purusho Nimagna, in this beautiful tree of the heart. There's 2 birds sitting. One bird is simply watching, another one is enjoying. And Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvashya Chaham Hridishan Vidishtu, that the human body, I'm situated in the heart. So, this deep connection that we will feel within the heart. But that heart connection comes, as we mentioned, it's a practical process. So we have to practice something tangible, some sadhana, association, sangha, as we mentioned in the first category. That nurtures the heart and it tills the land within the heart where the seeds can grow. The whole process of tilling the ground when you plant something, it helps to move and soften the ground so that it can grow. The tree of love for God within the heart can actually grow. In Sanskrit, they call it bhakti lata, the loving vine, the loving creeper. It's very soft and gentle. And so therefore, self-care means we have to keep in mind we're that soft, beautiful, divine self, Sat Chit Ananda, eternal spark of God. And so how to take care of that and how to nurture that and how to allow it to blossom and grow is what we have to consciously try to do. And so divine is all pervasive. In 13th chapter, when you read with Radha, you will see There's this beautiful verse that explains Sharvatah Pani Padam Tat Sharvatah Shishiro Mukham Sharvatah Shrutimaloke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. Beautiful. And it explains how God is in everything. He has eyes, arms, and heads and faces everywhere. Do you see God's face in a tree? It's hard. I remember when I read that in the Gita, I was thinking, if it is so true, let me see if this tree has God's face in it. And I was looking at the tree and trying to find God's face, and I couldn't see anywhere. Obviously, I was looking with a different lens, you know. As a kid, you just take everything literally, you know. But there's something very deep in this cryptic teachings of the Gita, where it explains that imagine this little prince named Prahlad Maharaj. He's only 5 years old. And a 5-year-old child is naturally devoted to God because they're not contaminated with all the garbage that we sometimes get exposed to in the world. So these children are really, really pure. And the great thing about Prahlad Maharaj, this great young prince, he had a teacher, he had a guru while he was still in the womb because his guru was talking to his mom and they were studying the Puranas and the Vedas together. So he started to learn from the womb. When he came out of the womb, and he immediately starts to realize, I do not want to be entangled in this world. So his father, who was the most powerful king, who ruled over the entire planetary system, he just wanted his son to be a good demon that can take over the throne, you know? And all he wanted was to be in love with God and to share that with his students, with his friends in school. And when he was asked by his father, my dear Prahlad, you talk about this
I
divine,
have
this
that way, you know,
everywhere.
of being invisible.
Oh, Margaret, would you mind putting yourself on mute, please?
Yeah, I'm going to try. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you so much.
And you know what? Have one of you guys do it.
So who's hosting this? They can just put her on there. Oh, there she goes. Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, this young little prince, he replies to his father, yes, my dear father, oh, the best of all the demons. He addresses his father like that. He said, the divine that I worship from my heart, he's everywhere. I see him everywhere. He's all pervasive. And his father is thinking, my 5-year-old kid is hallucinating. He's onto something. He's gone nuts. A 5-year-old kid saying that he sees God everywhere. I mean, that's insane. So he challenges this 5-year-old child. Is he in the sky? He said, yes, Dad, I see him in the sky. And he literally sees God in the sky. Is he in the mountains? Yes, he's in the mountains. Is he in the tree? Yes. Is he on the earth? Yes. And he just keeps asking questions. He goes, yes, I see God everywhere. I see everywhere. He says, do you see God in this pillar in his palace? He goes, yes, Father. I see God in this pillar. 5-year-old child. And guess what happens? His father smashes the pillar. His father was known to has the strength of 10,000 mad elephants. Was his physical strength. And he just crushed that pillar. And from this pillar, this great form of the divine as half man and half lion shows up. Imagine that. So to have that level of consciousness, to see God in everything and everyone, in every situation, in every circumstances, requires a little bit of a practice, the cultivation of the heart, the cultivation to remove the layers and layers and layers of dust and debris that we have accumulated for God knows how many million lifetimes from the eyes of the heart. And then those eyes of the heart will allow you to see God in everything. Brahma, one of the creators of the universe, he explains this beautiful verse, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. And he explains that one day, when you remove all the debris from your heart, that means you have to keep in mind forgiveness. You have to forgive everyone from your heart. You have to surrender from your heart, not a mental surrender, not a mental forgiveness, everything from the heart. Then the heart, the eyes of the heart will open, and the eyes of the heart will be anointed with this divine love called prema. And then we'll be able to see God in everything, in every situation. Imagine that. Imagine that. I remember, is Lisa here? She's not here. She may be joining us a little later. But I remember during our tour, some things were not working out. Some of the people, they applied for their visas and everything went through, and still something was held back. And it was a very frustrating situation. They bought the tickets and they couldn't come to India. And I remember sitting with Lisa and the group, and we were just sharing how, to go through that experience, we call them the chosen ones, to go through such trials and tribulations in life and to be able to see a divine hand in that. And that's the beauty of the practice of bhakti. It is extremely simple. It is extremely simple every single day. A friend just messaged me, he's in Iraq. He's on National Guard duty. And he has kids and family back home in Atlanta. And he's on duty and he was messaging me. He said, Veda, you remember? You give me advice. And I said, me giving you an advice? He said, yeah, you give me an advice. And I said, on what? He said, he had asked me, he said, Veda, tell me one thing. One thing. Summarize it for me. Just tell me one thing that I can do every single day. Just one thing. One thing spiritual. And I said, all you need to do is sit down and meditate. You have the beads that I've given you in the Bhakti Kriya box, in that everyone has those beads, and you just chant on those beads and you just meditate on the mantra. And he was saying, he messaged me, he said that he started off with a lot of struggle. And he's in a very tough zone in Iraq. It's, people think nothing's going on. There's a lot of undercurrents. And he says that he is calm and peaceful. And I'm so grateful to you, Veda, for giving me a very simple method. Now I meditate for minimum of 2 hours. Even with the rifle in my hand, I still have my little beads. And he's still meditating. And he says, Veda, I cannot tell you. I don't have stress. I'm not in anxiety. I'm not depressed. I don't have PTSD. I'm doing great. I said, fantastic. So, the process is really simple. It'll be nice if we can invest more time and energy, but whatever we can, we have to try to see how to make the main point in our life very clear and the center of our lives. That we must really, really cultivate the inner sanctuary of the heart by sitting every single day with ourselves and start meditating. So, Nild, that was a crazy long answer to your beautiful question. And I don't even know if I actually answered your question.
Yeah.
I'm a
Well,
weird person.
yes, but
Sometimes,
I feel like I feel it in my heart when this past week I went to the shore and I saw the divine in the waves in the ocean, and I felt I was a drop of that. When I listened to a symphony last night, and Brahms was playing for me, and I felt I felt it, and then I flipped to my head for a moment, and I'm thinking then about who's feeling that, and so there's this. As soon as I recognize the divine in somebody in the grocery store, as I go down aisle one, and by aisle three they're smiling at me, I know that our souls have connected, um, and I look around this temple that we create together, and I know our souls are connected, and I can feel that. But then, as soon as I start thinking about it, I'm not sure who's thinking. Is that my soul thinking somehow? It's not really. The only thing I can feel, I can feel things, and therefore I know the divine is within. But yeah, then I start thinking, and it gets all wacky. So I'm not sure who's thinking. Is it my heart that's thinking in some way, a little bit, or is it immediately my mind that's thinking? Who's
yes.
who's who's feeling that my heart feels it, but then it doesn't. I don't think it's. I don't get that my heart thinks. Maybe it does, but
Yes. One of the sages writes beautiful saying that Mama mana mandire rahanishiti Krishna Murari Shri Krishna Murari. Beautiful song he sings, he writes. He says, Krishna Murari. Oh Krishna, please come and dance in my mind. I have created a beautiful temple in my mind, and I'd like you to come and dance in my mind. So you can create a sanctuary in your mind, in your heart, everywhere. And that's the beauty of the practice of bhakti, is that it's beyond the geographical boundaries. Bhakti is not bound, is beyond borders, it's not bound by geography, it's not bound by anything. Love is not bound by anything. That pure, eternal, spiritual love is not bound by anything. So wherever you go, you can turn that into a place of temple. We were in a bus and we turned the bus into a temple. We started doing kirtan. We're waiting outside a bathroom and we start doing kirtan. And we turned it into a temple and we chant and dance. So, that's the beauty of bhakti. That it's not stationed in one place, truly stationed in your heart, but that can be placed anywhere. And it should be properly placed because that temple of the heart is meant for God. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Neil. I love that. Okay, anybody else would like to add anything? Yes, Jules.
Yeah, I think that I know what your answer is because we already talked about it when I met you in Holland. And I can remember we talked about a flower. I asked you, a flower gives its smell to everybody who comes around. It doesn't, it's not important how the other behaves. And then I asked you, can everybody be like a flower, or is it when someone behaves rude to you, they say, okay, I'm not that flower anymore. I don't smell for you. And uh, you said, no, you still be that flower for everybody. And I've been thinking about it, and I think, and that's what I want to bring in. Of course, I want to smell for everybody uh, when after taking a shower. But there can people that behave rude to you. For me, it means that I have to set my limits, but that I can still be serving. Is that what you also say? What you're also saying in serving?
Yes, yes, yes. It's very deep what you're sharing, because the soul, the fragrance of the soul is actually, it's by nature is pure love for God. And it's so intoxicating. What attracts one person to another person is the fragrance of their true spiritual identity. When someone is compassionate, right? Why is everyone like that person? Kind, gentle. Everyone is attracted to such people. Why? Because those are actually the fragrance of the soul. And those fragrance comes from God. And so, if we continue to cultivate our true self, true self-care, we will attract everyone. With words, with magic and gimmicks and jugglery, you cannot change anyone's mind or anyone's heart. Nothing. It'll just remain mere words that simply pollute the universe, simply pollute the ether. The words that really, really matter and really amplify the vibration, the spiritual vibration of this universe is when we start to see the good qualities of others. And when we personally cultivating those spiritual qualities, those fragrances of the heart, then that fragrance, everyone will be intoxicated by. People from far, far away will come. There is people living in the Himalayas, and people are flying thousands of miles, driving hundreds of miles, and going on rickshaws and boats and oceans and this and that to meet some people. Why? Because the fragrance of the heart. Why are millions of people around the world coming to Vrindavan every single day? To find the fragrance of the Goswamis in Vrindavan, the six sages. What are they smelling? We want to hear, we want to dive in that nectar that they're relishing. So people come. I mean, I'm telling you, millions of people are coming every day. Why? The city is overcrowded. There's nothing, it's almost like static, nothing moves. It moves at such a slow pace. It moves on spiritual time because it's so packed. Why are people coming there? Because the fragrance, the flower, we have to really understand who is and what is that flower that we are. And what is the purpose of that flower? The purpose of that flower is meant to be used as a garland to garland the beautiful, divine form of God. Narottam Das Thakur, one of the great saints, he explains, Gatiya Malatir Mala Divo Duhar Gole. That means all the beautiful, fragrant flowers of Vrindavan, all the qualities, the beautiful qualities that we cultivate in our heart, it should be offered to God and should be offered to others, to serve others. If you're just kind and you keep kind to yourself and just hell with everybody else, okay, see how that goes. But it's important to always emanate the fragrance of love, the fragrance of compassion, the fragrance of kindness. These are natural fragrances of the soul. So we should never deviate. Even if someone is unkind to us, I'll tell you, I'll leave you with this thought. This is maybe a little wild and crazy, but I'm going to share with you anyways, because I think sometimes I'm crazy. Not sometimes, all the time. That we have to keep in mind that in this material world, this place, it's an incredible place only for spiritual advancement. Everything else you try to do, you'll be like a fly that's stuck in a spider web trying to get away. But if we think how everything in this world is to help us and enable us to go back to our original home in the spiritual world, then even when someone is not nice to us and backstabs you and is cruel to you and speaks ill of you and wants to destroy you, you will see that simply as a stepping stone to bring you closer to your worshipable Lord. And that's the beauty of bhakti. Even when they do that, you should still serve them. You should still emanate those spiritual fragrances. Don't deprive them of compassion. Don't deprive them of kindness, of your spiritual love. Okay, I am officially 2 minutes over time according to my clock. Anybody else wants to add anything before we end it?
Prabhu, do you want to say anything about your Connecticut retreat in February or your Columbia retreat at the end of January?
Devi Radhika knows everything. I don't know what's going on in detail. I just follow whatever they tell me.
I just have to laugh at that. I'm like, I know nothing, Prabhu. I do know a little bit about the Connecticut retreat. Thank you, Radha. The Connecticut retreat is Divine Love. I don't know, Nitai, if you have the link and you want to pop it up. It is a small retreat that we will be hosting, or Veda will also be joining. All the profits go directly to Food for Lives. And the weekend of February 14th through 16th at Mercy by the Sea, which is a beautiful location on the shoreline, we will focus in on relationships with ourselves, which, touches on some of these topics today, as well as relationships with others, and then ultimately the relationship with the divine. So we ran an early bird special, although I think we're also running like a holiday Black Friday, whatever. But if not, the prices are in the link. There's more information. And if you can join us to uplift each other and yourself and get closer connected to the divine, we hope we see you there.
Wow. Anyone? I don't see Angela.
No, I don't think Angela's here.
She knows the details of the Columbia retreat. But it should be, Nitai would know if it is posted on the social media links.
I have
Okay.
some questions for you at the Connecticut retreat. I'll be there.
You have some questions for me. I may have some counter questions for you. Thank you, Nild, and thank you all very much. It's such a pleasure to be with all of you, and it's just so nice to have this family always connecting and making sure. I always request all of you to please make it a habit of just spending 1 hour once a week with us, at least, and invite your friends and just let them feel part of a larger community of loving souls. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful day, all of you in the US. Good evening to the ones in Europe. And good night to Nitai and those who are in India. I think we do have another call at midday for those who went to India. Even if you didn't go, you're still invited. It's going to be the same link. And we're just going to be sharing about our transformations, our experiences, and the incredible shifts that has happened in our life. I know many people have messaged me saying that, Veda, I don't know what happened. I'm still trying to figure out what, all of a sudden, I feel like I need to change my life completely because I don't want to do this material life anymore. And I'm like, hold on, hold. No big changes, you know? So there's so much happening internally for all those of you who came to India with me. So please, if you want to join, you're welcome to join us again, and you'll be hearing from the participants and not me. Hopefully, I'll be able to just be quiet and listen.
What time is that one, Veda?
It's going to be at noon Eastern
time.
Standard. It's going to be late for me, so I'm gonna somehow stay up. So
It's
we'll
gonna
see.
be in less than 2 hours, actually.
Less than 2 hours? What time is it?
Yes, 1 hour and 50 minutes. The meeting is in 1 hour and 50 minutes.
That's not 12, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's 10 o'clock, 10
Okay,
a.m.
perfect. Oh my God. We went over time. Okay.
It's okay.
Good night, beautiful souls, and good day.
Just have a coffee, Veda.
Coffee? I don't
I'm
like the
joking.
smell, otherwise I would have tried it.
Oh, I know it was joking.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Okay, beautiful souls.
Haribol, everybody.
Bye.